Hey guys, Brother Enoch here, and I just want to make a little video about facts concerning the late Arthur Jermyn and his family. You can find the story in full on Yog-Sothothery. Just follow the links in the video description. But just be warned that there are spoilers in here, and let's get on. This is what the video is about. It's not a reading of Arthur Jermyn, but I just point out the themes and elements of interest to me that I find in the story. The first element of interest to me is utilitarianism, and here we have a quote from Wikipedia. Utilitarianism is a philosophical movement referring to the belief that all human activity or endeavor is futile. And I just want to show you some lines from the first paragraph in Arthur Jermyn. Life is a hideous thing, and from the background behind what we know of it peer demoniacal hints of truth which make it sometimes 1,000-fold more hideous. Science, already oppressive with its shocking revelations, will perhaps be the ultimate exterminator of our human species, if separate species we be, for its reserve of unguessed horrors could never be borne by mortal brains if loosed upon the world. Now, compare this to the opening paragraph in Call of Cthulhu. I'm not going to show it right now or read it, but maybe I'll backtrack whenever I get to Call of Cthulhu. But this is utilitarianism at its best, and you know, a lot of people think that Lovecraft shared this, and I've seen some quotes from his letters that show that, you know, he certainly evangelized this worldview in his letters. But go ahead and read some more from Arthur Jermyn. If we knew what we are, we should do as Sir Arthur Jermyn did, and Arthur Jermyn soaked himself in oil and set fire to his clothing one night. Many would have disliked to live if possessed of the peculiar features of Arthur Jermyn, but he had been a poet and scholar and had not minded. Sorry, I forgot to make the transition here. Now we're talking about peculiar features, which, you know, Lovecraft likes to put on some of his characters in his stories. And in this case, I think that Lovecraft was making this character, at least partially, after himself, like he does in a lot of the other stories. You might not think that that's true because of the reason why he has peculiar characteristics in the story, but yeah, I at least think that there's a parallel. Also, madness in the family, another theme in this story and in others. In Arthur Jermyn we read, his great-great-great-grandfather, Sir Wade Jermyn, was one of the earliest explorers of the Congo region, and had written eruditely of its tribes, animals, and supposed antiquities. Indeed, old Sir Wade had possessed an intellectual zeal amounting almost to mania. His bizarre conjectures on a prehistoric white Congolese civilization earning him much ridicule when his book, Observation on the Several Parts of Africa, was published. In 1765, this fearless explorer had been placed in a madhouse at Huntingdon. Now, this is another thing that Lovecraft shares with Arthur Jermyn, is Lovecraft believed that there was a madness in his family. Lovecraft's own father had been placed in a madhouse where he eventually died, and although it's believed that syphilis was the cause of his madness, syphilis may have obscured existing mental disorder. H.P. Lovecraft's frequent bizarre dreams and psychosomatic illness, or nervous condition as he called it, may have been inherited even if syphilis was not. On the theme of madness in the family, we also read in Arthur Jermyn, madness was in all the Jermyns, and people were glad there were not many of them. The line put forth no branches, and Arthur was the last of it. Now, H.P. Lovecraft was also the last of his line, and Lovecraft also described Arthur as a poet and a dreamer, which Lovecraft also thought of himself. Now, on the theme of lost civilizations, which Lovecraft has, you know, he obsessed over, I believe, because he mentions Lemuria and Atlantis and R'lyeh and Irem. These are all cities and islands and cultures that were lost in time. But in Arthur Jermyn we read, "But it was a talk of Sir Wade, especially when in his cups, which chiefly led his friends to deem him mad. In a rational age like the 18th century, it was unwise for a man of learning to talk about wild sights and strange scenes under a Congo moon. Of the gigantic walls and pillars of a forgotten city, crumbling and vine-grown, and of damp, silent stone steps leading interminably down into the darkness of abysmal treasure vaults and inconceivable catacombs. Especially was it unwise to rave of the living things that might haunt such a place, of creatures half of the jungle and half of the impiously aged city, fabulous creatures which even a Pliny might describe with skepticism, things that might have sprung up after the great apes had overrun the dying city, with the walls and the pillars, the vaults and the weird carvings." Now, Lovecraft may have been toying with ideas suggested by Regnum Congo. Lovecraft mentions Regnum Congo in his short story The Picture in the House, written the same year as Arthur Jermyn. I'm not sure if Lovecraft read the whole book or maybe just saw pictures from the book. But whenever I go over the short story The Picture in the House, I'll say a little bit more about Regnum Congo. But for now, I'll just move on. The Jermyn family tree is I don't know, whenever I was reading Lovecraft's story, he was skipping back and forth, and I was really confused about how the different characters related to each other. So here's a quick breakdown. Notice the way that the Jermyn men have names, but the mothers don't. Sir Wade Jermyn and a daughter of a Portuguese trader spawned Philip Jermyn. Philip Jermyn and a gypsy woman spawned Robert Jermyn. Robert Jermyn and a daughter of the 7th Viscount Brightholme spawned Neville Jermyn. Neville Jermyn and a vulgar dancer spawned Alfred Jermyn. And finally, Alfred Jermyn and a music hall singer of unknown origin spawned Arthur Jermyn. Now, with that and some other faults in the story, this isn't one of my favorites. I think the most striking thing about Arthur Jermyn is how much the main character, Arthur Jermyn, shares in common with H.P. Lovecraft, who was a racist and an Anglophile. And I think that the same thing strikes me about Lovecraft's identification with Alhazred, but I'll get to that in the other stories. Facts concerning Arthur Jermyn would not make my best of Lovecraft collection, but it should be read by, at least once by any Lovecraft fan. That's all I have to say about this, and I don't know if I'm going to do a review or breakdown of the next story or two, but I will be posting the tree and whatever comes after that on Yog-Sothothery. So go ahead and stop on by and read those if you've never read them before. I guess that's it for now, and if you have any comments or questions, just go ahead and go by Brother Enoch on YouTube, or go by the Yog blog at www.yogsothothery.blogspot.com, and I'll see you next time.